Hi everyone, it's Miss Gonzalez. I'm back to work with you all with multiplying whole numbers with fractions. And we have a new problem that we are going to work on today. And remember, we will use the 3-read protocol, which we have used in the past. And the purpose of using this protocol is to help us to get a better understanding of the problem, and it will also help us to be more successful when solving the problem. So the first read is the read that I will do on my own. I will read to you all the stem of the problem. And while I am reading the stem of the problem, I want you all to just pay very close attention to the information that I will be reading to you. Okay? All right, so let's get ready. Sasha organizes the art gallery in her town's community center. This month, she has 24 new pieces to add to the gallery. Of the new pieces, 1/6 of them are photographs, and 2/3 of them are paintings. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to just kind of think about, what is this situation about? What situation is going on in this problem, and what is it about? So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. Okay, so I'm noticing within this problem that there definitely is a situation, right? We have someone named Sasha who has this art gallery, and they're trying to organize it. And what happened is that there were 24 new pieces of art that were brought to this gallery and added to this gallery. But within those 24 pieces of art, we have some different ones. There's 1/6 of them that are photographs, and then there's 2/3 of them that are paintings. So we have a situation in which there's an art gallery that's getting some new art, but within that art, there are different types of art. Okay, so let's move on to the second read. You guys are going to read with me. This is our choral read. And while we're reading, I just want you to pay attention to the specific quantities within this problem, okay? Okay, so let's get ready. Sasha organizes the art gallery in her town's community center. This month, she has 24 new pieces to add to the gallery. Of the new pieces, 1/6 of them are photographs, and 2/3 of them are paintings. Okay, so what are the quantities in this situation? I want you to just think about that second read that we just did. What are the actual quantities? What are the amounts? What are the values that we notice in this problem? So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. Okay. So some of the quantities within this problem is that we have 24, right? We have a quantity here of 24. And this 24 represents the amount of new pieces of art that were added to this gallery. And then we have 1/6. So this quantity is telling us that out of this 24, 1/6 of those pieces of art are photographs. And then out of 24, 2/3 out of this 24 are paintings. So those are three very important quantities that I'm sure we will need to solve this problem. Okay, so keep those quantities in mind. Lastly, we're going to do our last read. And again, you all are going to read with me again. We're going to do a choral read. And again, pay very close attention to the problem during this third read, because I want you to start thinking if there are any mathematical questions that come up while we are reading this problem for the third time, okay? So, let's start to read. Sasha organizes the art gallery in her town's community center. This month, she has 24 new pieces to add to the gallery. Of the new pieces, 1/6 of them are photographs, and 2/3 of them are paintings. How many more paintings are there than photos? Okay, so I want you to think about what mathematical questions can we ask about this situation. Okay, so let's just take a moment to think about any questions that arise from this problem, mathematical questions. Okay. So some mathematical questions have come up. One mathematical question that comes up is exactly how much is 1/6, right? And exactly how much is 2/3, right? What does that mean? How many pieces of that art is equal to 1/6? And how many pieces of the art is equal to 2/3? So let's put that question up. What is 1/6 and 2/3 equal to? Out of the 24 pieces of art. Okay, so let's put that question up. That's a really important question. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay, so let's see. Any other mathematical questions? Maybe how many more paintings are there than photos, which is what we actually have to find, right? So let's put that question. How many more paintings are there than photos? Okay. So let's slide that question over. Make it a little bigger. Okay. So I think these are two really great mathematical questions that come up from reading this problem. And hopefully after we solve the problem, we will be able to answer these questions. Okay, so we are going to start to try to solve this problem. And we are going to use a tape diagram to solve this problem, to help us to see how many more paintings are there than photos within this situation. So we are going to rely on our knowledge of fractions. We kind of reviewed exactly what the fraction represents when we look at it. We have a numerator and a denominator, and we're going to rely heavily on that information to help us to solve this. Okay? So as I can recall and as we can recall, we paid attention to some important quantities within this problem. One of those important quantities was 24 new pieces of art that were added to this gallery. So in all, there were 24 new pieces, right? So this tape diagram is going to represent that whole of 24 pieces of art, okay? So that will represent our whole. This tape diagram is going to represent our whole, okay? And there's 24 that's going to make up this whole, okay? Now what we need to figure out is how much is 1/6 of this whole and how much is 2/3 of this whole. And as soon as we find that out, then we'll be able to see how many pieces of the art are photographs and how many pieces of the art are actually paintings, okay? So let's look at this 1/6 first. Okay, so 1/6. So we have a whole, right? Again, this tape measure is representing our whole, which is the 24 pieces of new artwork. Now, what we spoke about in the past with the fraction is that our denominator represents the amount of parts that are within the whole. So this fraction, 1/6, is telling me that this whole is to be cut into 6 parts. So I'm going to do that now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 parts within this whole of 24. Okay. Now, we need to look at the numerator now. And our numerator is telling us that we have just one part of this whole, one part of these sixths, okay? So remember, each part is a sixth, okay? Because that's what our denominator showed us. We had to cut this into 6 parts. So we have 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and then 6/6, which gives us our whole, okay? Now we need to only look at one of these sixths, okay? So that would be just one of these parts. But we don't know how much that is. We know it's 1/6, but we need to know what whole number is that equal to so that we can know exactly how many photographs there are within this art gallery. So if I have 24 pieces of art, new art, and I had to divide them, right, into 6 parts, what is 24 divided by 6? Right, that's 4. So each sixth is equal to 4. Okay. So again, I had to take my whole of 24, right? This tape diagram represents my whole. My denominator told me that I am to take this whole and I'm to break it into 6 parts, which I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. And then I had to concentrate on just one of those sixths. Okay? Now, how did I get the 4? Remember, I took my whole of 24 and I split it, I divided it into 6 parts. And when we do 24 divided by 6, that's equal to 4. And that's how we're able to see how much, what whole number is 1/6 equal to within this whole. How many pieces of art are represented by 1/6? So that's 4. So now we know that, and I'm just going to put it right here. There are 4 photographs. Okay, so we're going to keep that there so that we can remember. And now we're going to see how many paintings there are. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the paintings. So our fraction that's being represented in the problem to show how many paintings there are is, switch my pen, is 2/3. Okay, now again, we need to see how much is 2/3 equal to out of 24. So we're going to follow the same protocol we did when we were doing 1/6, okay? Let's look at the fraction of 2/3 now. So again, this tape diagram is representing a whole. The whole, which is the 24 art gallery pieces, the new pieces that have been added to this art gallery. Our denominator is a 3, which means what? Yes, we're going to take this whole and we are going to break it into 3 parts now. The last one we broke it into 6 parts. Now we are going to break it into 3 parts. So let me do that now. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, which gives me the whole, which is the tape, which is what the tape diagram is representing. Now, let me look at my numerator. We need to use 2 of these thirds. Okay? So we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, but we only need 2 of them. But again, we don't know what the value is for each of these thirds, right? We don't know how many pieces of paintings, how many paintings are represented yet, okay? So we took 24 which is represented by this whole. And now we're going to split it into 3, which we did, which is 24 divided by 3, because we divided this whole into 3 parts. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. That means that each of these thirds means that there are 8 pieces of artwork for each third, okay? Now, since we only need to look at 2 of those thirds, we have 8 here and 8 here. We combine that together, 8 and 8, which gives us 16. Okay? Therefore, there are 16 paintings. Okay, so I want to go back really quick, and I want to make sure and just see if we can answer any of these questions, these mathematical questions that came up when we were doing our third read, right? Our third choral read. So one of the questions was, what is 1/6 and 2/3 equal to out of the 24 pieces of art? So we figured that out. We knew that 1/6 was equal to 4 photographs, and we knew that 2/3 was equal to 16 paintings. And we were able to see that by making a representation and a model using the tape diagram, and how we took that tape diagram and we broke it into parts to get to that answer. Okay, so this question we can answer. Let's look at our next question. How many more paintings are there than photos? Okay, have we answered that question? No, but we can do that now, right? So how many more paintings are there than photos? So we know that there are more paintings, clearly, because there's 16 paintings, right? But we need to see how much more is 16 than 4, okay? So we could do it one of 2 ways. We can do subtraction, right? So we can just take away the 16, take away 4. Which will give us 12. Or we can use something like a number line to see what is the amount in between 4 and 16. Okay, so here I have a number line. And we know that there are 4 photographs, right? So I'll start here. And we know that there are 16 paintings. So I'm going to see how much more bigger is 16 than 4. So I'm just going to do some jumps, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there are 12 more paintings than there are photographs. And we just did that 2 different ways. We did subtraction, and then we used the number line. So now we can answer this question. How many more paintings are there than photos? There are 12 more paintings than photos. So what we just did is we were able to take a whole number, and we were able to see out of that whole number of 24, how much is 1/6 equal to and how much is 2/3 equal to. I hope that was helpful. See you soon.